Hi, and thanks for joining. Today we're going to focus on SailPoint's integration with Okta. I'll be your host. My name is Donovan Blaylock, and I'm a technology evangelist here at SailPoint. First, let's start off with why. Why have Okta integrate with SailPoint and vice versa? Okta is very good at what it does, particularly on the access space. SailPoint's very good at several things as well, particularly the compliance space. Both of us offer some compelling solutions in the security area that really don't overlap. So we'll look at today what are the common use cases for customers that use both solutions and some of the benefits they get out of that marriage. Clearly, we're both very good at what we do. Okta is extremely well and recognized in the access management space. SailPoint does an extremely good job and is well recognized in the identity governance and administration space. Why does this best of breed approach matter? Well, it makes sense for us to work together for common customers out there. Also, we're very viable companies. We're very good at what we do. This can make sure that our customers get the best possible solutions that are tightly integrated to be seamless to our customer when they're working together. Specifically, the benefits of this partnership that we have. There are a lot of automations around Okta and SailPoint working together. The access, compliance, that lifecycle management, often called joiner, mover, leaver, the governance processes, certification, attestation campaigns, workflows, common IT processes. Having these tied together through both applications means a seamless experience for your users and your administrators. We also want to make sure that we're flexible, so we're able to handle the unique use cases of a lot of customers, and we bring to the table an awful lot of integration with different applications. We also want to ensure that you can do this for any type of application or file structure out there. Lastly, both of us have a goal to make organizations more secure. By tying these functionalities together, we can ensure compliant access, ensure that appropriate best practices are adhered to in organizations, and we can reduce road and orphan types of access across the organization very easily. So what does SailPoint do? SailPoint really solves three major questions. Who currently has access to what? Who should have access? And how is the access being used? We accomplish this a couple of different ways. A big part of that are compliance controls, SOD checks, the ability to create an access certification campaign, or often called an attestation campaign, where a business user can go in and review access quarterly often and easily and quickly make an intelligent decision about whether or not people should keep access. Also the lifecycle management, often called joiner, mover, leaver, automating the process with which somebody comes on board, which we're going to look at today. They quickly get access to things we already know they need, and they can request other things as well. Having that background check of SOD violations, approval checks, all those things making that very, very seamless to the end user and very efficient for the approver on the back end allows somebody to not only join the organization, but as they move through the organization, automating the process of that mover scenario as well, where they may lose some access and gain some new access. Both of us provide solutions around password management. I'll go in depth in that in a few minutes to describe how we handle that together very often. Also, this identity governance for files. A lot of what you see and understand typically deals with access to systems, and that's important. But also there are files and folders out there with sensitive data and locations. We want to ensure this solution set solves that as well. When we're requesting things, we want to know what type of sensitive data resides there. When we're reviewing somebody, we want to know if they have access to certain sensitive data types and what types those are as well. Last but not least, analytics. So this is AI coming into this particular part of the world. Using machine learning and artificial intelligence, automating the sustainment and the onboarding and all these processes that we're talking about today is a significant step forward in changing this world. Clearly, we have to have integrations to make this capable. So integrating with many different types of applications, both on the SailPoint side and the Okta side, and making that open platform capability set so that we can work with Okta as well as other applications out there. I'll name one that happens very often with PAM vendors as well, so that this process encompasses them as well is an extremely important part of what we do. So how does this all come together? Let me paint a picture of what a very common customer that has both of our solution sets does. On the SailPoint side, they're using SailPoint for access requests. the ability to enable an end user to request additional access and have that check SOD policies, have it record who requested it, who approved it, the timestamps for all of that, in accordance with an auditor looking at it at some point in time. Also, the access certifications. These are the access reviews we talked about before, but enabling somebody who is not technical to quickly and efficiently review access on a regular basis for people that may report to them. Separation of duties, really key. So no matter where the access request is coming from or where the access came from, but checking it against what we know are conflicts of interests. This is extremely important also. And then entitlement provisioning. So creation of accounts can really be done by both products. So some systems may have accounts created by Okta, and some systems may have accounts created by SailPoint. Ultimately, that decision will come down to whether or not the application is audited. If it's audited and you need to know who, when, why, what, how, and their justification, typically SailPoint does the provisioning of that account. But that doesn't stop there. If you get the account with no access, you've really not accomplished very much. So the provisioning of entitlements and roles and groups, things like that in an automated or very easy fashion is extremely important as well from an overview perspective. Lastly, password management, similarly handled to that account provisioning we talked about. On the Okta side, definitely want to use the authentication and authorization capability sets. Their account provisioning out to those light applications that are likely not audited. Also the single sign-on process, MFA, and password reset. It can be handled by either or both. In an organization, we ask some simple questions when we first come on to help them identify how this should be handled. We're pretty used to having the conversation. As I mentioned earlier, where's that line of delineation? It changes from customer to customer, but very often this question is asked. Is the application audited? If the answer is yes, then the provisioning needs to happen typically on the SailPoint side. There are plenty of integration overviews we can focus on. Today, we're only going to focus on 3 or 4. We're actually going to demo 2 of them today. But out of all these are ones we can, if you wish to receive a more in-depth demonstration, we can focus on any one of these as well as others. If you let us know what's important to your organization, we'll make sure we tailor a demonstration specifically to you. So today we're going to look at a couple of different use cases. Certainly, let's look at the most common one out there, and this is a new user coming on board. As the new user comes on board, I want hour 1, minute 1 of that person coming on board to have some basic functionality, and I want to enable them to go out and request some additional access in a way that a non-technical person can do. So we're going to focus on that today. So we're going to show some automation on birthright. When somebody comes to the organization, what it looks like, what it acts like, their experience on day 1. And then we're going to take that exact same person and they're going to request some additional access. What does that look like to an end user? And then we're going to have as a manager approve or reject that access as well, and then show what it looks like when it's all done. We're not going to have time to go over this today, but another very common use case is showing that access certification. Again, that's the access review, the attestation campaign, where a manager or an application owner quarterly are going through and looking at access and either approving somebody to keep the access or requesting it be removed. As that access gets removed, it should be removed from that user's SSO page. So those things are automated, and we can certainly show that if you would like a more in-depth demonstration. So without further ado, let's hop over and see some product. Earlier, I mentioned that people often start at a system of record. Employees typically come from an HR system, which is what we're in right here. This is a very light HR application with which we're going to create a new user. So real quickly here, I'm just going to fill out some information about a new user in the organization, and we'll go ahead and get the process started.
Great. Susan's been onboarded as a new employee. Now, Susan is given information or an email that lets her start logging into the system and get the access she needs to accomplish her job on minute 1, hour 1, day 1 of her employment. So let's log in as Susan. There's a default password for new users that have been given to Susan, and you'll see it'll ask us for some information, amongst them being a password change when she first logs on. Great, now Susan has been onboarded. Okta gives us a simple welcome to the system. Great, Susan has entered the Okta system. Now let's go ahead and as a user request some additional access. You'll see this is single signing us on into the SailPoint application. And again, we're going to be challenged to answer some information so we can assure this is Susan in the future. Our new user now is presented with some options if they wish to request some additional access. Let's go ahead and request an access for G Suite applications. Let's go over now and see the approval step process for somebody, in this case, Susan's manager, to approve whether or not she should have access to this G Suite application and use up the licensing required. I've switched over now to Jerry, and Jerry is one of the approvers for somebody requesting access to G Suite. So let's look at the approval section and let's see what it looks like. You'll see inside here, Susan Evans has a request for G Suite. If I want to look at the justification, I certainly can. See the justification given for that. I can make additional comments if I want, but this is pretty standard for somebody coming on board, and I'm going to go ahead and improve that process. Great. Now you'll see a slight change here. I've switched back over to Susan. Susan not only shows her G Suite applications on her desktop, but she's also been notified that it's been approved, who approved it. On the SailPoint side, we've checked SOD policies. We've automatically assigned who can approve these particular actions. And more particularly, we've recorded who requested it, how they requested it, the justification for it, and who approved it and any other comments they've made in a permanent structure that's available easily to auditors. Very briefly, we're able to go through a couple of use cases today. We onboarded a new user. That user was created in a system of record, an HR application in this case. And then that person was given some automatic capability sets. We utilized the Okta interface and the person logging on for the first time to create a new password for the user with the guidelines required by the organization. And then we also enabled them to request additional access through the integration with SailPoint and Okta. We checked SOD policies. We went through a process of somebody approving that particular step. And then as soon as it was approved, it shows up on the user's desktop and their single sign-on capability set going forward. These are the first two use cases I mentioned earlier today, and these are the first two we went through, but there are a lot of different capability sets that we can go through with the integration with Okta. If you would like some more information about the integration capabilities between Okta and SailPoint, please feel free to reach out. There is a landing page for our Okta integration, as you can see below. Also, we have several YouTube videos out there on this and other capability sets for SailPoint available to the public as you wish. Please feel free to log on there. If you would like a more in-depth demonstration, please use the button in the top right-hand corner anywhere at the SailPoint.com webpage, and we'll be glad to set one up more tailored to your specific needs. Thanks for your time today.